Hey guys, I am too many weeks into healing this ankle injury, and I am being reminded of just how much a physical injury can impact you emotionally and mentally. And I'm also seeing the way it's impacting my spouse and shining some light into areas of growth that I know I've got some work to do in. Shoo, as usual, this is just me showing up here to unjuggle this with you in case you're going through it too, or in case you've got a partner who is maybe managing through a physical injury and you're having a hard time like relating and feeling connected during this time. So, a little disclaimer here is that most of the episodes I drop, they usually contain some pretty relatable life lessons and motivations that are more applicable, I would say, to like all of us or a wider audience, even all of us living this human journey. This particular episode, it's really going to be about navigating an injury, either again as the injured party or as the partner. So if that's not your current life circumstance, first off, yay. And second off, perhaps you would enjoy some of my other top rated episodes. Like one of my favorite ones that I released back actually in February of 24 was the one all about like what you really need to build more confidence. So that's a good one. You could check that one out or tune in next week for another one that'll drop that'll be a little bit more applicable to the wider audience. Either way, just thanks for listening. And I always love unjuggling this with you. So let's go. All right. I have been hobbling around in a big old super sexy ankle boot the last several weeks. And honestly, I am so over it. So, a quick rewind. If you're just tuning in or you happen to miss like the episode where I tell the full story about how we were sixth row at a concert and then I was fourth row with a busted ankle, and my firefighter hubby got to carry me down the side of a mountain amphitheater. Yay, him! All to be told by two doctors that a piece of the bone had broken off and I quote, was floating there, and that I would need to be in a boot for at least 6 weeks. And then the whole saga of how I had to advocate for myself that I really just needed an MRI. Again, there's reasons for that. I've had surgery on this ankle before. MRI comes back. Sure enough, I did do a good amount of damage on the ligaments. But good news is that nothing was torn all the way through, which means that I get to heal this sucker on my own instead of having to go into surgery. And it also changes the recovery into about like 3 to 4 weeks in a boot. And then I'll start some physical therapy. So here we are. I have started my own at home physical therapy, and I still physically hurt a heck of a lot more than I would like. And while this episode, like the purpose of it is not just me complaining, because anyone who has been with me the past several weeks knows that like that ain't my jam, and a temporary condition like this, it's not going to change that. This episode is about the ways that I think even the strongest communicators suffer in silence often, especially when life involves an unexpected event or a condition that requires just a different pace, a different mindset, a different level of scheduling, support, grace, patience, and just like truly managing something that's just not a part of like the regularly scheduled program. And that's okay. And I can tell that there is some like hesitancy with what I want to say next. Is just that while I know like I'm stubborn, I'm strong headed, I'm independent, I'm a whole lot of other high achiever qualities that have served me very well, actually, especially with an injury. But all of those same qualities, they have a dark side too. And also, like, especially when I'm in a situation where I just like, there's things I just physically like can't do, no matter how much my mental and emotional state wants to do them. And that's hard. And I'll just say it, it's hard. Injuries stink. They're not fun. And it's not easy to feel so dang dependent. And it's not easy to feel like a total load, especially in a season when I know that my household needs what they need most right now is not mama requiring everyone else to slow down. And something that I'll also take just total accountability for here is that um, I suffer in silence a little bit. And I know I mentioned like I don't complain. I really don't. And that sounds nice and lovely and like a good quality or a characteristic. And I think it's also an optimistic spin on saying that I perhaps internalize my pain physically, my frustrations mentally, and my self pity emotionally all on my own. And that's not awesome. So, especially when it creates a gap like between me and the people who I know I need most and who need me most too, it's hard for a spouse to support when they don't really know what's going on. And like, sure, they see some of the undeniable pain, that requires no words because it's written all over my face. Or like, sure, maybe they notice the patience fuse that is shortened, or maybe they notice a tone that includes like lingering nodes of frustration. But still, when the narrative inside the brain starts shifting, unless it's communicated, like our spouses, our partners, they simply they don't know. Okay, so I want to keep myself on track here with the intent of this episode. Just one way that I can communicate and just bring forth the things that I'm processing. And I want to do it in a way that, first off, like if you're managing an injury, that you don't feel alone and you see that you don't have to suffer in silence either. And that all the things we're thinking and feeling that they're normal, it's okay. And I can share some of the things that like I'm doing to keep just like working through it all. And then the second intent of this episode is with the partner of the injured party in mind. So as a way to just potentially shed some light into the shadows where it gets hard and we don't say anything, or like, and hopefully the episode will help just like create an opportunity for additional conversations and communications in your life so that all involved parties can keep walking down the healing path together in a way that lessens isolation and kind of equips for like the giving and the receiving that gets to happen in these type of chapters of our stories. So, first intent, what is it like to have an injury that throws a wrench in the plans and in ways alters your physical capabilities? Now, keep in mind here too, this is purely from my perspective, right? Because there are so many incredible people out there who have shared their stories about injuries far beyond a little ankle sprain, okay? So lots of human beings who have severely traumatic stories related to like very broken bodies where they're hanging on for survival and they overcome physically, mentally, emotionally. It's no small feat. And I know that their stories also contain elements that like comprehensively can walk you through their healing and their overcoming stories. For me, my tiny little limb that I know will be healed here before the end of the year, it's not going to be some crazy big like comeback story. however, I know my own headspace is showing me glimpses of what I'm sure like so many people go through. So here are some of the thoughts or the feelings that maybe I don't say out loud, but I was really intentional about identifying before this episode so that I could actually share. So, prompted by this physical, temporary crippling, the suffering often in silence for me has looked like this. um, Overwhelming thoughts of, I can't do this or I can't do that. And right now, I'm just useless to the people who need me most. And not only can I not add value to them, but now I'm actually another thing on their to-do list because I'm adding more to their plate. So, for instance, like, okay, so the smallest things. I can't carry stuff up the stairs because I need to really rely on the hand railing. So, I can't get my own water to the chair because I already am carrying the ice pack. Like, can someone stop what you're doing to bring me water? Crazy. Another one is like, just this whole feeling of like, I'm mom. I'm supposed to want to take care of as much as I can for my family. Like I want to. And that's like what everybody else expects of me too, because that's what that's like how we operate, right? That's our operating rhythm. Right now, I'm operating at, we'll say half capacity at best. So easily, only half of the things I do for my family are able to actually get done right now, which means that I feel like I'm unable to meet expectations. Cool. Oh, yeah, and unless they get done by someone else, now I get to watch my household, like, slowly fall behind. Every day, I feel the weight, like, of it all stacking, and I have no idea when it's gonna turn around. So, double cool. Another thing that's coming up for me is, like, we're always moving and grooving and between carpool drop off and pickup and sports and business events and personal schedules and blah, 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 blah. Like having a bum driving foot is such an inconvenience. Now, not only am I not even capable of bringing my kids to school, which is something that I cherish. So, in another sense, like I feel robbed, but now I have to ask for help from others to do so, which makes me feel like now I'm inconveniencing other people too. No one wants to feel like a burden. And occasionally, when my mind falls into this like self pity rut, I've just forgotten about how people want to give, like that others want to serve and they want to show love. And it's about being able to receive. Still, in the shadows, the not fun and also not true narrative is that I'm burdening others and being robbed of the things I cherish. Another like suffer in silence is that just acknowledging that I move really slowly right now. Like I have to be so meticulous with where I place my foot, the speed at which I transfer my weight to it, the pain as I transfer weight back off of it, and the motion forward. The boot is heavy. It forces my hips and my knees to be off balance, which then cause aching in my back. I feel every single step that I have taken over the last several weeks. And my family, especially my husband, okay, we love him. I can just, I can feel his agony as he walks next to me and like desperately wants to just return to a normal walking pace. So then, again, in my brain, like the emotional and the mental places we go, I just know that I'm not keeping up. I'm falling behind as I watch my family advance ahead, and there's literally nothing I can do. I feel left in the dust, literally. And while I can have a smile on my face, knowing that I'm going to get there eventually, it still requires them to be waiting on me, which I know they don't want to do. And I don't want to be the person that they're waiting on. So this isn't about like, oh, slowing down and taking a pause and taking in the scenery. Like, okay, like this is painful for me physically and emotionally. Yet, I don't think that people like always necessarily take the time just to recognize that. And I think that, like, if you've been there, if you've had an injury, like, I almost think that to some degree, our brains like try to forget it. We try to forget how painful it is physically, mentally, emotionally. So, while sure, like if you've had an injury, you're probably more likely to have some empathy and patience and feel for that person. It's still so tough just to know where people are are at with it all. And everyone processes things so differently. And are you suffering in silence, suffering out loud? Like, what does that look like? And so at the end of the day, that weight of like, everybody's waiting on me and kind of feeling like, nobody empathizes with me 100%. Like they don't know exactly what I'm going through. So that's isolating, right? Another thing, the things I enjoy, I either like simply can't handle doing or they cause a significant amount of pain. And it's just like this constant negotiation of how much am I willing to sacrifice my body and pay for the pain later, like negotiation, like literally feeling like a crappy person and just so not myself. Because, like, for example, okay, so say I want to go say hi and I want to socialize with the people across the room or across one of the kids' games, but then knowing that it is going to take me what feels like a century to just walk 25 yards and the amount of pain that I'm going to be in later. So then I don't do the walk. I don't make the effort. I don't get up. I don't get to have the connections and the conversations that normally would light me up. So instead it's eating me up that I'm not getting those things. And so again, that adds to like the loneliness when you don't feel like you can give at least 50% that every relationship requires. And then in that same situation, so now like not already like lonely, not getting to do what I want to do, missing out on that connection and that conversation. And then just because it's such a circus and it's real fun up in this brain, I get all up in my head and have to either assume that folks understand and they remember, or I have to try and remind myself, like I have to acknowledge that we're all so busy and that they probably don't even remember that the last time they saw me, I was in a boot. Now, the fact that I'm hiding like my injury under a brace and baggy pants. So they probably have moved on. They have no idea. And they just think that I'm giving them the cold shoulder. So then all these like social anxieties creep in too, right? Sweet. Yay, me. Another silent sufferer is just the like pure exhaustion of it all, like that feeling right now. Obviously, recognizing, and I give my body the space to rest. Okay. So I don't like if you're listening and you're like, oh, you just need to rest. And then no, that's not what it is. But thank you. It's like I have enough grace and I absolutely acknowledge like that. Obviously, okay, I recognize that the body, it's an incredible machine and it will heal itself if given time and the right nutrients and all of those things. That requires energy and the right fuel and the right rest on top of feeling all of these other like feelings of inadequacy. Okay, now I really feel the cherry on top as I like slump through my day. So as the hours go on, everything just feels heavier. So now the physical exhaustion sends the mental and the emotional exhaustion into a real frenzy. Yay! Can you tell like I laugh? I hear myself like with my little laughter and just how much I use humor as a coping mechanism. And again, that's okay. We all have our own little quirks. It's just a matter of like keeping our coping mechanisms in check and recognizing what we're doing. So you can even tell the sarcasm is probably increased in my last several episodes too, as part of a coping healing. But here we are, and don't you worry, all is okay. Another one that creeped up again, just from trying to bring awareness to some of the suffering silence, is like, I also feel, I definitely feel inclined just to like call out that the overall guilt is definitely the word that I internalize right now. Guilt, like that most of the things I would do in or for or with to keep our life going in the like aligned God hyper speed life we live, I'm not doing most of those things right now, which naturally then means that they fall onto my partner's plate. Like a plate that I recognize is already so full, doing all the things that he does for this family. And now, as the one person who's supposed to be making his life easier, as his teammate to share in our glories and our burdens together, as his other half, I'm not showing up for my end of the deal. And instead of being able to rely on me, he's left to second guess what I can or can't do, to manage through all of the additional coordinating, and to pick up even more than his fair share of the weight. I feel guilty and helpless in that. So, I guess to like sum up the shadows of how it can feel mentally and emotionally, the words, the phrases I would say would be isolated, painful, exhausting, guilty, disconnected, unworthy, unwanted, unable, an inconvenience, a chore, inadequate, and helpless. And that's just with a tiny ankle injury. And two, if you haven't been listening for a while, or if you haven't, we haven't ever had an actual connection. Just a little about me. Like consider the source here. I would say I'm a pretty mentally sound, like pretty emotionally aware, a genuinely joyful and happy, like good, well intentioned, openly versed perspective kind of person. Okay, so if all of these feelings and emotions, like these are coming from someone like me, just especially if you're a partner, or if maybe you're not normally like a genuinely, like you may be feeling these at various different levels. Again, the intent here was like, if I can show up here, if I can put a name, if I can associate emotions and things that we can oh goodness, what is the word that like we can relate to here? Maybe that starts to stir up some additional conversations and stir up some additional like awakenings and awarenesses for you. Because these feelings and these glimpses of human suffering, I know I'm not the only one. And I know that I'm not like being dramatic or anything. Like, I know that this is the real human experience sometimes. And it's okay. And yes, you can be a genuinely joyful person and still experience moments like this with these feelings. No, it's not fun. But yes, we get to choose the narratives that we actually listen to and the way we want to choose to look at our circumstances. So while those are my silent sufferings, now not so silent, um, I'm also really, really proud of how I've navigated this injury this time around. And I continue to recognize that everything happens for us, and that there is always a much bigger plan at play here. No, I wouldn't have asked for this. And yet, I know good will come from it. Whether it's, I don't know, my chance, or just a chance for my husband and I to find new ways to communicate that only deepen our roots even further. Or even like okay, here's a positive, like the beautiful ways that I've seen my kids. Okay, they're 7 and 5, they're babies. Like the beautiful ways that I've seen my kids step up and try to take care of me, like even if it's just with some kind snuggles, or the act and the gesture of like bringing me water without me asking, and even just having my own babies look me in the eyes and be like, "Mom, you doing okay? You need anything?" And like genuinely asking from a place where they get to and want to serve. That's pretty cool. All right. And all of this, it's continuing the journey that I recognized actually last November, just about the ability and the gift of receiving. And I've done a few episodes because it's the craziest thing how wired we, like especially women, how wired we are to give, 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 and how rarely we recognize the ways that we refuse to receive help and love and support and guidance and grace and worthiness like worthiness untied to performance, even. I mean, like all the things. So I know that this continues to be my season of deepening and strengthening my receiving muscle. And I'm okay with that, even if that means I'm working through this injury. I know it's meant for me. I know that most growth isn't easy, but that the tension is a part of the journey and that that's actually what gets to open up abundance on the other side of it. I know that. I know that's waiting for me on the other side of this injury. So I will continue to lean into that on this healing journey, especially. I'll continue to acknowledge the suffering and just let it be okay to not be okay. And then to gently nudge myself towards that optimistic choice of how I know I want to look at this current circumstance. And so, as for the partners and the spouses going through an injury with your other half, I just hope that the courage, I'd say, I hope that the courage I had to share some of this stuff today, I just hope that it helped and that it shed some light on what may be happening in the body, mind, soul of the person who you love, who is working through like a temporary disruption in the normally scheduled program. And just that you hear that it's natural for you too to feel some of your own suffering as you carry the extra weight, because you are indeed carrying the extra weight. You're carrying the extra weight physically, mentally, emotionally, from your scheduling standpoints, from the responsibilities of the household, like all of those things too. And I just hope that you can see, as the partner, I hope that you can see that it sucks for all parties involved and that adjustments are being made on all sides, and that the extra work you're taking on, the extra love you're giving, the extra grace, and even the slowing down, it's such a gift that you're giving. Just thank you. Like, you are also getting to be molded in this season for your grace, for your understanding, for your endurance, your optimism, your ability to communicate, your all the things. This season is meant for you too, in probably a very different way than it is for your spouse. And you get to do it together, even though it's hard, even though it was unplanned, even though it feels inconvenient. I'm not sure if this helps, but I think that, one of the biggest things that I've been able to ask of my incredible husband that has made a big difference for us is that, as the spouse, is just like any time you can attempt to anticipate the need, that is really helpful, because then it just means it's one less thing that your partner, like the injured party, has to actually acknowledge to ourselves, and others, that like we can't do. And also know that you equally deserve some clear communication about like what those needs actually are. So it's a balance, right? This is really all of this. When I sit back and I reflect here, and when I was putting this episode together, it was just very clear to me how much this is really just a beautiful dance of giving freely and then also receiving abundantly, especially under stressful, like non ideal circumstances. But just think of the ways that like it gets to bring you two together. Do your best to practice gratitude for the ways your routine and even like the ways that responsibilities are needed to be shifted right now. Try to still find ways to have fun, have honest conversations about the sufferings for both parties, so that through that communication, you can both find new ways to give and receive. All right. So, the unjuggle summary of today. um, Physical injuries cause more than just physical pain and disruption. There's absolutely a mental and emotional component that needs care too. I shared some deep, really vulnerable sufferings of what I've experienced as the mental and emotionally debilitating components of an injury. We recognized the impact of the injury on the partners or the spouses that are also navigating along the healing journey. And overall, we picked up the outlook that this healing journey gets to be about giving and receiving in new ways, and that there's so much love and grace in that. And that is really, really a beautiful gift if we choose to see it that way. Okay, then. Like I said, hoping this episode was just what you needed. I think it was good for me too. So thanks for being here. Until next time, bye. Oh, hey, one last thing before you go. If you're struggling with an injury because you feel like it's just like the cherry on top of an already burnt out kind of life, I've got a free training that will help you reconnect with yourself again, redefine the kind of life that you really want for yourself, and help you just realign to build a life of purpose and joy and freedom. This exclusive training, it's not something that I post like on my websites or anything, but it is available by request only. And I'm so happy to share it with you for free because I know the impact that it can make. You've just got to ask. So if you'd like this free exclusive training, please just email your request to Brittany, that's BRITTNEY, at brittanytalinchy.com, or check out the show notes. I'll put that in there too. Okay, for real now. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.